Hey everyone, welcome to the Lead Her podcast. We have our first guest ever to the Lead Her and amazing one to have today. And it's also awesome because Shars came up for the weekend and we get to do this in person because our last few calls have been on Zoom.
Yeah.
Which is still really good, but it's amazing to have you here today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So me and Shar, we met in 2020?
Yeah, COVID times.
Met just after COVID. And yeah, so that's been 3 years now. And Shar's been someone that's really also helped me hugely with coming out with this Lead Her ethos as well. Like I remember messaging her, sending her some voice notes like, what's your thoughts? So you've really helped us get here today as well. So thank you for that. So do you want to introduce yourself? Let us know what you do, what you focus on.
Absolutely. So what I do is quite niche. I am a fashion business consultant. So I help founders in the fashion industry start and scale their fashion businesses with sustainability in mind. So yeah, it's quite niche, but it's really enjoyable.
Yeah, amazing. And when we first met, you weren't doing that. What were you doing when we first met?
So I worked as a fashion merchandiser in a corporate job.
I was going to say, I really like to say what company it is, but we wouldn't say what company it is.
A very well-known sports retailer in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was not necessarily what I wanted to do, but it filled a gap and it gave me a good bunch of sort of resources and know-how that have taught me to implement what I know in the industry with new founders now. But yeah, I was in a very, very different situation. And I think when we first met, I'd literally just handed my notice in and was coming to sort of the end of that notice period.
Yeah. And what were you thinking about doing when you went and handed in that notice? Did you have an idea where you were going?
Yeah. So around about that time, I was sort of doing the odd side job, like, you know, that side hustle everyone talks about. I was doing the odd design project, working with a few different brands to help them build their collections, which was really cool because it was a nice creative outlet when I was working in merchandising, which was very much, you know, analytical. You know, there's a lot of numbers, figures, trying to figure out how we can make the business more money. So it was nice to have that little creative outlet on the side. And that was the ultimate goal, was take the design full time. And it sort of snowballed slowly into what is now the consultancy role. So yeah, it was an accidental role that I fell into.
Yeah. And when we were chatting yesterday, you were kind of saying you maybe would have done things a little bit differently.
Definitely. Yeah.
So what would you mean by that?
I probably would have started with some savings. You know, I would have had a bit of a plan in place. But it was, you know, it was COVID times. It was, you know, I was put on furlough. I'd been working from home previously to that, and it had just given me a bit of an insight into what it would be like to have a bit more freedom and to be my own boss essentially. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna take the leap with the support of my also self-employed partner, which I think if I didn't have that, you know, foundation, it wouldn't have happened. But yeah, I had the support network there, which, you know, made it much more achievable. And I just took the leap and I did it. And I don't recommend other people do that. You know, get a bit of savings under your belt, have a bit of a structure, a bit of a business plan. But yeah, it worked out for me, which is fortunate.
Yeah, I think I was the same, like with becoming a coach. I just went from a waitressing job straight into coaching, like overnight, handed in my notice, and then I started in the gym. So I had nothing either. But at the same time, if you always wait to have the finances, is that ever going to happen? And then then you maybe get older and then you maybe don't take that risk of taking that job. So I don't know if there's a part of that as well where you kind of need to take a bit of a hit to do what you really want to do.
Definitely. I think there's much more ease doing it when you're a little bit younger and you've got less responsibility. You know, if you don't have children, you might not have a mortgage to pay. You can be a little bit more, you know, take more risks. So I think, it was probably the right time. Well, it was definitely the right time. But I think, I would advise anyone to have a little bit more structure in place to understand, okay, this is what it's going to look like. And if things don't work out, you know, this is my plan B, let's say.
And just out of interest, like, do you think if you knew Mark, like, and when you came to our house as well and we're chatting away, like, we just hit off so well, like, and I read so many lovely quotes that are like, when you just meet people and you just get the vibe, don't you, that you're just very like-minded. We're chatting about travel, we're chatting about business, we're chatting about life and family, like, And you're a wee bit younger than me as well, aren't you? So what were you when you first came up? What age were you?
22.
Yeah. And I think I'm almost 10 years old. What are you now?
25.
Yeah, okay. No, it's not 10 years. So I'm 34 now, so 9 years difference. And I was just like, oh my God, like straight away, like your energy, like your mindset. I was like, oh, I love her. She's so lovely. But like, do you think like with maybe speaking to us and then maybe also speaking to like being around Mark, do you think that kind of gave you also the push to be like, oh, I can do this? Or do you think if you weren't with them, would you have took many risks? Or
I think it definitely gave like a sense of forced evolution.
Yeah.
You know, you're around a high performer, high achiever. Mark has, you know, as you know, he's very ambitious. He breaks the mold entirely, completely steps outside of the box, which I think is, you know, I'm in awe of that.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool. And I think I definitely had, you know, the foundations and the infrastructure to be able to be like, okay, cool, like I can do this.
Yeah.
I did always have a mindset of, you know, you don't have to do what everybody else does. You know, you can sort of go against the grain. I did tend to, you know, like coming out of school, I didn't want to go to sixth form. I wanted to go to an art college, and I ended up competing, which, as you know, you did the same, and I sort of did things slightly differently to, you know, the circles that I was in at the time.
Oh, sorry, just to say we do have Nala here and Lola here, so if there's loads of barking and stuff, like, ignore the dogs. We're going to bring them in and think it'd be really cute doggy podcast, but they're so annoying, and we've not slept properly for 2 nights now because of the dogs. So sorry,
so I definitely already had that, I guess, mindset in place, but it was just having the space to be like, yeah, you can do this.
Yeah, amazing. Because I think like seeing Joe was already doing it a little bit before me definitely had let me have more belief that I can do it. I don't know if I did meet Joe, if I would have, but it's interesting that you always kind of had that outsider mindset as well, which probably definitely gave you a push to do this and not just do the 9-to-5 job that didn't make you happy. It's okay, it makes other people happy, but for you it wasn't for you.
Totally. I remember saying during my degree and during my diploma, which again was like in the art fashion space, so I always knew that's what I wanted to do. And I remember saying to myself, you know, you're going to start a business, you're not going to, you know, work the 9 till 5. And I just didn't realise it would be able to happen so quickly. So I think I always had that vision, but ultimately, it happened a lot quicker than I anticipated it would.
Yeah. Okay, cool, awesome. And then I was kind of thinking, like, I know for me, like, I don't have a lot of friends or women around me that I felt that I could really chat to about business and stuff, and it was really helpful having Joe. But like, was there any kind of struggles that you faced, like with obviously starting your business and trying to do things for yourself and start this new journey? Was there any parts where you could maybe bounce ideas off of Mark, but did you have any struggles that you felt he didn't really understand?
Oh, 100%. I think, especially, you know, the friendship group I was in, I've got great friends, but some of them sort of didn't get it, and I'd sort of be like, you know, talking about it, and they'd be very supportive, but you're only so supportive that you can be when you don't really understand and you're not facing the same challenges and going through the same journey. So I think, starting a business is very isolating, can be very, very lonely at times, even if you have, you know, the best people around you. And what I found was that some of my, you know, closest friends in the business space were, you know, they're dotted all over the place, just like you, you know, you're a 4.5 hour drive away. So it's not just like, hi, can we grab a coffee today? It's very much, you know, you've got to make a conscious effort to be able to build those people around you. So although Mark has been my business mentor for the past, you know, 2-3 years, and he still continues to be, you've got to definitely build that around and outside of your partner, because they've got their own stuff to worry about.
And I don't know about you, but when Joe maybe gives me recommendations or stuff like that, I'm like, oh, you're so annoying, like I don't want you to tell me what to do. And then I'll sleep on it, and then the next day I'm like, oh shit, he's right, like that is something that I need to do and I'm ready to go. But it's almost like I need 24 hours to digest it.
I think sometimes you need to learn your own lessons as well. There's definitely been times where Mark has said, okay, this is what you need to do, and it's maybe taken me 6 months for like, what I'm currently doing isn't working, I need to try something new, and he's like, I told you so.
So with you, like, because we don't want to just make it about you being a business owner, so like, let's say it's just like your career and it's your job, has there been times when you're like, because if anyone's got any kind of goal here where it might not be business and starting their own business, it might be starting a new career, or it might just be like a fitness goal, getting fitter and healthier. Like, has there been any time on this journey where you've been like, I can't fucking do this, like, and close to quitting, or like, has there been lots of self-doubt?
Oh gosh, all of it. So much. And I think being a business owner really, it exposes all of your weaknesses. So anything that you weren't so great at before, you will realise that tenfold as a business owner. And I think, yeah, there's gonna be so many times where you're doubting yourself, thinking, was this the right thing to do? Should I go, should I look to apply for some jobs? And I think there's so much uncertainty as well, if you're in, quote unquote 9 till 5, you have that security of, even if you don't work as hard, let's say 1 week to the next, that you've got that paycheck coming in. But when you work for yourself, there's definitely a little bit less predictability there. So there's so many challenges, and like you say, that self-doubt of, imposter syndrome, who am I to be doing this, and do people actually want to work with me? And I think there's so many times when you're gonna get that. And I think it might be, I think people have very different opinions on this quote, let's say, but I think fake it till you make it, and just keep going, even if you don't feel like you're capable, or if you don't feel like you're the right person to be doing this. Surround yourself with people like yourself who are like, you are on the right track, you've got this. But there's going to be so many times when you're like, I'd rather just throw in the towel. Let's go for the easy option.
Do it for like one night, and then you wake up and you're like, okay, I'm ready to go again. Definitely. I've heard loads of athletes do that, where they're like, I'm retired and I'm not going to do it like after a competition. And then like after a few months off, they're like, right, let's get the season started. And they're like, I thought you were retired. And they're like, nah, you just need to kind of give yourself that little bit.
It's totally like that all the time. I think in any goal as well, just, you're not going to be motivated all the time. You're not going to wake up jumping out of bed like, let's do this every single day. And I think, it's being consistent and having that discipline to keep going, even when you feel like you're not capable and you don't want to do it.
Definitely. And that's a little bit like with me, with obviously coming into Lead Hard, is like, although I was still helping all our members within the community, I was still training, I was still eating well, I was still making sure they were absolutely bossing it. So I was still doing what I had to do to then finally find Lead Hard, and rather than just being like, oh, I'm not going to do anything, and you just start not training and you don't start looking after yourself, and then that makes the situation worse, isn't it? So sometimes it is like fake it till you make it. I think we all need to do that, or act your way into a habit, or act your way into a behaviour. And like, the habits and behaviours are so important, because you just keep doing what you need to do, and then it does all eventually come together. So do you have anything like you would say to someone, like if they are really having a bit of self-doubt, is there anything that you feel really works for you when you are feeling like really low? Is there anything that you do that helps you?
There was something that you said there was something that you said on your story the other day, and it completely resonated with me. And it was, what would the person you want, who would the person that you want to be, what would they be doing? And I think that is such a powerful approach to take. Like, the person I want to be, what would their actions be? Would they be getting up early and getting their run in before the working day? Would they be, choosing nutrient dense foods that are going to fuel you and get you through the day? Would they be creating content and putting yourself out there even when you don't feel like you want to? I think, what would the person you want to be, what would they be doing? I think that's, I guess that would be the approach I've sort of been taking without thinking about it.
It's such a good way, because that's definitely me last year. Like, I was just lying in later, I was just a wee bit demotivated, a wee bit frustrated, and I was lying in the morning, and something just clicked when we were away last year. I was just like, nah, like the Leanne, the Lead Her lady, like, she would not be lying in bed, she would not be sleeping in. And I got my ass up, and straight away every morning I was just up like a light, like, right, let's go. And Joe's like, whoa, what has happened to you? Like, you sort of be like a flick of the switch. I'm like, absolutely, like, I'm ready to go. So I do think that really helps when you do think that mindset. So I was going to ask next was, so like you said, like, meeting up with other like-minded people and speaking to other people. Like, what I love is when I speak to people like yourself, I'm like, oh my god, me too. Like, I really struggle. Like, it is so hard. I do not believe in myself all the time, and it's so nice when you meet other people that feel like that. So with you, like, I know you've been kind of doing a lot more work recently in terms to like trying to get out and meet more people, and you've also been looking into doing a bit of traveling by yourself? Like you did that last year. Do you want to talk about maybe where that kind of came from?
Yeah, so again, sort of as a business owner, it can be quite isolating, and I think the more that happens, the more you pull back and retract, and you know, you like as a business owner, I definitely really enjoy my own company, and I know you're probably the same. You're happy to just sort of be on your own.
Totally. Or even just like people that have been working from home with work and lockdown. I think we've all became a lot more, well, I definitely became a lot more introverted, and it takes a lot for me to get back. It's almost took me like 2 years to get back into being like a wee bit more extroverted again.
Definitely.
So I think even people from working from home as well, or maybe people our age, your friendship groups do get smaller, and you maybe don't see as many people. So so a lot of people maybe feel like you do. As well.
Definitely. And I think, you know, you probably still have some friends from, whether it was, you know, if you went to uni or from your workplace or whatnot, but you tend to drift, I think, especially if you have got a business, or if you've decided to take a new path and you've got this new goal, and you do tend to sort of drift away from some people, and that can make it even harder. I think the older you get, the harder it is to make new friends. And especially, again, if you're working from home or if you're working for yourself, you've not necessarily got those workspaces to be able to, you know, get to know people, and work parties and things like that. You don't have those anymore. So it can be really, really challenging, and have to make a conscious effort to reach out to people and say, look, you know, let's go and grab something to eat. And I think, you can want to stay in this place that feels safe.
It's comfortable, isn't it?
Exactly. And that was me last year. Definitely towards the back end of last year, I was just going through the motions, getting up, doing what I needed to do, you know, serve my clients, get a bit of exercise and a bit of, you know, movement in there, and that was pretty much me. So I had a bit of a, you know, kick up the bum, and was like, you know, I need to get out there and do more stuff. Life's for living.
And you're still so young.
Absolutely.
We're living like 50-year-olds.
And I went into this self-employed world to have freedom, to have self-autonomy, and I wasn't using it. So I booked a little solo trip. There's a couple of places that I wanted to go, so I just thought, let's do this. And I was so nervous. The morning I woke up to take the flight on like a Sunday morning, like 4 a.m, I was like, what have I done? I'm going to be all on my own. And it was so good. I really enjoyed it, and I'm one of those people that will happily sit and have dinner on my own, take a book with me. And even if you're not, you know, doing that and pushing yourself outside of a comfort zone, you'll feel so good for it, and you'll get to see new places, and you don't have to answer to anybody. You get to go to the restaurants you want to go to. So that was something that I really enjoyed, and definitely going to be doing more of.
I love it. I think it's absolutely amazing. And is there anything that you kind of maybe found out about yourself on that trip, or did it bring in a bit more confidence in yourself? Was there anything, what was your biggest takeaway from it?
I remember journaling while I was out there, and journaling around this idea of safety. And, you know, we talk the talk about what our values are, and, you know, if you can say that you value one thing, but if your actions speak otherwise, there's this huge disconnect. And me, you know, saying I value self-autonomy, I value freedom, and I'd never gone on an airplane, you know, to somewhere on my own before. I was like, it's a bit of a mismatch here. So that was something that really like resonated, and like had a bit of a penny drop moment. Like I have this idea of like what's safe to me, and safety can be anywhere. Safety isn't a fact. You know, you can create that. So I could choose to feel safe on my couch with my dog, you know, where nothing can get me, or I can go out there and seek safety in a new country and explore new things. So that was a massive thing for me.
So cool. Because like I only did it a tiny bit. I don't think I've ever went somewhere by myself. I don't think that's ever happened. But a lot of people say, like, especially with our age and when you've been in a relationship for a lot of years, is that, or when you've maybe had kids, is that you do lose yourself, and you start to just do what your partner wants you to do, but just naturally. It's not that they're making you do it, but you do just lose a part of yourself when you have kids, or when you have just focused on one career and you've been knuckling down on it so much that almost you lift your head at one point and you're like, I don't know who I am anymore, I don't know what I want to do anymore. And life is good, like everything's good. You've got your house, you've got your dog, you've got your family, but there's just that little part in you that's just like, I'm not happy, there's something missing here. And that's what this whole podcast is about, is finding this thing inside you that you want to bring out. It's not just not getting out your comfort zone and just staying in this happy place, you know there's so much more to give. We've got so many years to go that doing stuff like this, I think, is a perfect opportunity. Even if it's just going for a coffee yourself or the cinema yourself, it's just this perfect moment to go out and really learn who you are and what you want.
Definitely.
And I think it's so important because I don't know if it's just a female thing, but we just seem to put ourselves last.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely every single time. And I think it's sort of like a generational, I don't want to use the term frivolously, but a generational trauma, let's say. I think, you know, our mums were the ones who, you know, always put everybody else first. And, you know, I think you can't serve from an empty cup. And if you're always prioritising everyone else and, you know, making sure the dog's happy and your partner's happy and the house is ran, and if you've got children, making sure that they've got what they need. And then, as you say, you come last. And really you should be filling your cup up first. And it's that analogy of, you know, if you're on an aeroplane, in the event of loss of cabin pressure, put your own oxygen mask on first and then help others with theirs. And I think that is, again, super powerful of put your own oxygen mask on first. And go and do the things that light you up, that spark joy, that fill that cup back up so that you can be your best self as a mum, as a business owner, as a dog mum, as a friend, as a daughter. And you can't do all of those things if you're constantly putting your needs and wants at the bottom of the pile.
Yeah. And I think when you do keep putting your needs and everything at the bottom of the pile, you do end up hitting burnout, or you do end up, just feeling like the way I did last year. I just felt like, just knew there was so much more I wanted to do, and I didn't know what it was because I had it down for so long that it was almost a harder battle to find it and bring it back up again and really kind of do it. So it's almost like if you're having those thoughts right now, you could do what you've done and maybe book a wee trip yourselves, or if you don't feel ready to do that, what else? Like you could maybe go to like events or...
It's like you said about the cinema. I love a solo cinema trip, and it took me, I think I did my first one a couple of years ago, and I again was so nervous, even just like pulling into the car park being like, this is so weird, and sat on my own eating my popcorn, like there's people thinking I'm strange, I've got no friends. But being able to do something like that does allow you to have that space to think, what is it that I want? What is it that I enjoy? Am I living through, you know, a belief system or what, you know, society subscribes for me, or again like a partner, am I doing what my partner enjoys and not doing what I enjoy? So I think creating that space is really, really important.
And if you don't have friends that like things like that as well, because we were saying last night, like the boys hate Marvel movies or like fantasy stuff, whereas we're like, we love it, it's so good. And then we're like, why do we live so far away from each other? Even like one of my best friends that lives in Australia, she moved away to Australia, me and her would always go and see the movies together, and then she left, and I've never really ever put the cinema's a bit rubbish now, isn't it? Really is a bit poo. But I love me time. I love just being by myself, sometimes my company more than ever. But there is things that I know Joe would, like for example, if me and Joe go on holiday, where did you go? You went to Krakow
and Milan.
Yeah, so we went to Krakow, and it was almost like I have to always pull Joe to do touristy things, and you feel bad because like it's both our holidays, but sometimes I'm like, come on, let's do this, and he's like, and I can tell he's doing it to please me, but then he does it and he loves it, and he comes away and he's telling everybody all these stories, and I sit there so proud, and I'm like, I made you do that. But he would never do that. He would happily sit in his office and work all the time and not do anything. So it's nice to push him, but sometimes it's nice for me to go, do you know what, I want to go and see this, and I don't want to have to trail somebody around with me or feel bad I'm trailing someone around with me, or do you know what, I want to go for pizza tonight, and for the third night in a row, that's fine.
That's exactly it. Being able to make your own decisions and have, like you say, nobody to answer to. And you know, relationships and stuff are about compromise. Sometimes you're gonna have to do things you don't want to do, and that's part of life. But being able to like go away a couple of weeks, even just like a few days, like a couple of nights, I think just being able to make your own call is really nice. And just like you say, filling that cup back up, and you get home, and when there is compromise and you're going to have to, you know, do things you don't want to do, you're like, cool, because I got a week of doing whatever I wanted to do for me.
And you and Mark do that for each other as well, don't you? Like,
totally.
Let each other have a bit of time away and come back with loads of stories to share, and
that's it.
Freshens up the relationship a little.
Exactly. I think again, like when you're both working from home, you're both in the same environment all of the time, sort of run out of things to talk about. But if you're, you know, Mark likes more outdoor pursuits, he loves you know, hiking and running, and you know, he'll spend some time in Oslo and come back and tell me about what he's been doing, and it's really nice to, like you say, catch up and hear about their adventures. And then you can come together and do things together. It's nice to have those separate entities that you enjoy, but being able to enjoy other things as a couple.
And just back to other people getting out their comfort zone and doing stuff like this, it is a sign when you've got that feeling in your tummy, you're like, oh, I want to do this.
Yeah.
Once you do it, like when I get that feeling now, I'm like, I know I need to do this. This is for me. And I get some of her members that do come to just like our workshops or to come to the gym sessions or whatever, they're so nervous before they come. Yeah. But as soon as you walk into a room, everybody else feels like that too, everybody. And it's just knowing that everybody else feels like that. It's not just you. There'll be people that are even more nervous than you and they probably haven't shown up. But by showing up, you've met new people, you've got out your comfort zone, you're going to walk away feeling good from just like overcoming that little thing that's pulling you back and try to hold you back. When you become that, you always get a boost in confidence, I think.
100%. And it's, it's like muscle memory and stuff as well. When you're training, you've got to do those hard things to be able to, come back stronger and want to do it again. I think, like you say, when you get those butterflies in your stomach and it doesn't feel good, you feel, you feel sick and you're thinking,
they can be so strong.
They can. And, I think that's a really good sign to lean into it and be like, right, this is telling me that I need to do this. This feels hard, but it's going to be really rewarding. And just as you say, everyone else probably feels the same. They're just sort of, trying to keep it together, like a, duck underwater. Yeah. But you just got to lean into it and try it. Yeah. Because you'll never know unless you try.
No, definitely not. And I was saying to someone the other day that I've totally forgot what I was going to say there, but what was I going to say? I know. And someone told me once that like when you can't remember what you're going to say, it's made up. So every time I go, shit, I forgot what I'm going to say, everybody thinks I'm lying. I know, totally forgot what it was. If it comes back to me, I'll just randomly put it in. I'll just like I'll randomly shout it out and everyone will be like, what is she talking about? So one thing that I really wanted us to do today, because you do work within fashion, is maybe like we know there's maybe a lot of women listening to this who like maybe going through a difficult time when they're going into the changing room. They're seeing lumps and bumps. They're like, oh my God, what is this? I don't see this at home. Losing a bit of confidence in themselves, or they're trying on clothes and they don't fit. So you've got a lot of knowledge about this in terms of what brands do, and we did do this on, Lead Her before. We had you come on and give us a full education on this, and the girls loved it. So, what would you maybe say to someone that's feeling like their normal clothes size isn't fitting? What would you maybe say to them?
My advice, plain and simply, would be that sizes are a load of rubbish. There is no standardization, there's no industry standard when it comes to sizing. A brand can essentially put whatever size they want on any product, both men and women and even children as well. There's no set numbers that you have to stick to.
I guess with children as well, a lot of people go, oh, my baby's a bigger size. Like they actually feel like proud of it because their baby's growing so much. Right. It's not like, like the clothes aren't fitting, there's something wrong with my baby. Yeah, exactly. And just as you say, you're going to go through fluctuations. We were talking about it on our run this morning, like depending on the time of the year, especially as a woman, depending on the time of the month, the scales will increase. I know if I'm, coming up towards the time of the month, some of my clothes don't fit me. Yeah. If I've been on a flight, I get quite bad, swelling. So if I sometimes get on the other end, some of my clothes physically won't button up. And I think it's very normal to fluctuate in sizes. But when it comes to, shopping from brand to brand, and you might be, a UK 12 in one brand, a UK 10 in another, and when you fit into that UK 10, it might give you that boost that you thought you needed, and you have to fit in a size 12 in another store. Then, I feel bad about myself because I've had to increase a size, and it really doesn't matter. You pick the clothes that fit, and if you have to size up because it fits better, but you have this mindset around what the label says, cut the tag out. It really doesn't mean anything. And it's just about buying clothes that fit you well, that you feel comfortable in, that you feel great in, and trying to disregard what that label says. Because working in the industry, I've noticed over the years there is literally no standardization in sizing, and inflation happens as well. If you think back to sort of like the Marilyn Monroe days, I think she was supposedly like a size 8, but in today's time, her sizing is completely different to what it was back then. Yeah. So as we go through the trends, I think if you see at the moment, we're going back down that sort of
heroin chic look again. I don't know if you've seen, everyone's like super slim again. And
or like the low hipster jeans, and I'm like, no, I don't want to get
they don't look
out.
They only look good on certain people.
Yeah, I was like, no, I hated it when I was younger, never mind now.
No, don't bring those back.
No.
So I think, you know, we go through sort of peaks and troughs in trends of, you know, body shapes and sizes, and I think, you know, your body isn't a trend.
Yeah.
And everybody has different shapes and sizes, so you know, you've got to work towards what feels good for you rather than trying to get to a unrealistic ideal. So yeah, don't follow the trends of what people think you should look like in a certain time, because we went through the stage of, you know, big bums and big boobs and sort of like the Kardashians, and then they had their implants removed, and it's like, okay, now we should lose weight, and it's
did they have their implants removed?
And it's, you know, it's this super unrealistic. They can't even set their own standards.
And you know, there's a lot of insecurities with them, hugely.
Absolutely. So I think, you know, if they can't even withhold their own standards, we shouldn't be trying to, you know, strive to this complete unideal.
Yeah. I think even for me, like when I go on holiday and denim shorts, I love denim shorts, they always look so cute, but when you're in the changing rooms, and I think that's something we come back to as well, is like the lighting and stuff in changing rooms and what they do with it as well. But like for me, I would always try and just size up with jeans and shorts, because like there's nothing worse. Even right now, these jeans are actually quite good, these are quite stretchy Levi's, but I picked up the same size in black, and I told you this, didn't I? And oh my god, they are suffocating, they are so tight, and because it was down at Gretna and we got back home, that's 2 hour, 3 hour drive, I'm not going to go and return them because I was too lazy to go on and try them on. But what had happened there, you told me this, was it, is it different material in the black and the blue? Yeah.
So if they're slightly different fabrics, slightly different compositions, they might have different stretch. And there's a lot of jeans out there, I think these are sort of got a bit of stretch in them as well. And you might find, I always find this, that the first day I put them on, when they're fresh out of the washing machine, they're quite tight, they sort of fit quite well, and then a few days later, if you worn them a few days, the waistband is now loose. And if you didn't have that understanding of, okay, it's just the fabric, you know, there's a bit of stretch in there, it's sort of loosened, you might think, oh, okay, I've lost weight. You wash the jeans again, put them on the next day, and they're fitting tight today. You're like, oh, okay, maybe I didn't lose that weight.
Maybe I gained weight. And you're like, no.
So I think it's all these sort of like psychological factors when it comes to clothing and the way that we feel in the clothes that we wear. And just as you were saying about the fitting rooms, I don't think I've ever looked at myself in a fitting room mirror and thought, oh, I look great. You know, the lighting is off, that down lighting is super unflattering. You're probably not, you know, you're flustered, you know, when you're shopping, you get your hairs in your face, you're flustered, you're getting yourself all worked up. And I think we have this expectation of what we're going to look like, and if it doesn't fulfill that, then shopping can be a really stressful, traumatic experience for a lot of people. I tend to do a lot of mine online to avoid that.
Totally. Because again, online you've got so many sizes you can get. And then you can obviously choose at home, and there's not that stress of running around the shop sweating. But I love just sizing up, and we were saying this last night, is sometimes just comfort is better than anything. Totally. Even just sat recording this just now, I'm freezing, I'm like so cold. I'm like I would love to just sit with a big baggy hoodie on and a fleece right now to keep warm. But there's that place where if I buy jeans or shorts or whatever, I'm like, I want to be able to wear these all day and feel comfortable and put a belt on. If they feel too loose, than me trying to buy a size 6, size 8, which probably wouldn't even fit my hip bones anyway. Because bone comes into it as well. A lot of people are like, oh, I want to be a size 8, but their hips are a size 10. You can't change the size of your bones.
Absolutely, and I think you've got to sort of work with the body that you have, and you know, this is your home. You've got to, you only get one, you've got to look after it. And I think again, sort of diet culture had us believe that we had to be the tiniest, smallest version of ourselves, and women had to be petite and take up very little space. And I think now going into sort of like 2023 and beyond, it's like women should take up space. Don't be afraid to be powerful and to be strong and outspoken, and you know, show up and be present in a room. And you know, it's like that power suit type of vibe. You walk in and you know, don't be afraid that people are looking your way because you have a presence, rather than like having to be slight and in the corner where nobody can see you. Gone are the days where that should be a belief system.
And 2 more things I want to do. So just with your being a fashion founder and the kind of companies that you work with, there's a lot more being spoken about now about things being a lot more environmentally friendly, a lot more eco-friendly. So what maybe a bit of advice would you give to people to make sure that we can buy less clothing, better for the environment, right? Less low price companies. So I don't want to say company brands,
fast fashion.
But yeah, was it fast fashion?
Fast fashion.
Like, what can some women do? Because it is nice to buy yourself a nice blazer that does last you 20 years. Like, what would you
So sustainability starts in your wardrobe. You know, people say to me all the time, well, where can I shop to be more sustainable? Well, to be more sustainable, just shop less, consume less. And I think that is the ultimate problem. Not, you know, putting aside the fact that these fast fashion brands are, you know, doing things really unethically and unsustainably. It's just the sheer size and volume of the products that are being released. So I would just say, just buy less and buy quality pieces. So we have a habit of, you know, buying from cheaper brands that you maybe can get more, and we think, you know, more is more, when you can probably buy a more expensive piece, you know, more quality piece that's taken all of these things into consideration. They've got sustainable fabrics, it's ethical, you know, worker welfare is really considered, and people have been paid a living wage to produce these items. You'll feel so much better, both sort of mentally, but then the pieces will last longer. They'll last longer in your wardrobe, more transferable across the seasons. And I often look at it as a cost per wear perspective. You know, if you spend £20 on a blazer, you might only get a handful of wears out of it before the seams are coming away, and you know, you wash it and it falls apart. Or you could spend £200 on a blazer, but you might wear that, you know, 200 times. And
there'll be less people that maybe have it as well.
Exactly. Yeah, it's much more unique. And it'll stand the test of time. You might be able to give it down to, you know, your daughters. And, you know, I think that's a really nice, you know, being circular and looking at it that way. So yeah, I do advise just initially to buy less, but when you do buy good quality pieces. And don't be afraid to buy secondhand. Like these Levi's, I got these in a secondhand shop. And you know, just buy what feels good, but also, you know, think of longevity and think of quality.
There's obviously stuff like pants and socks.
Maybe don't buy those secondhand. That's definitely a bit of a grey area.
Or even just like sometimes for me, like I do just love a wee cheap pair of Primark pants. Like, just love going in, getting a few selections. It makes me feel good, like,
exactly,
underneath. Rather than like maybe sometimes the more expensive pants companies, I'm like, Lola's either going to eat them, or like, eventually they're going to go in the bin. So sometimes I'm like, that's something that I'll go to Primark and stuff for. But I do think, like, even just since I've met you, and I do think it's became a lot more publicised now into the fast fashion brands, I've definitely been making a lot better decisions. It's almost like what we were saying last night with buying an Apple Watch. I feel like I'm really overthinking things before I buy them, and I only buy something as like a real treat when I do buy something new. But you were downstairs with me there and you were asking for a hairdryer, and I was like, oh my god, Char's going to look in my cupboard, and it is an absolute riot. And it's stressing me out. I know I need to clear it out, because even just for us going for dinner tonight, I'm like, I can't see what I've got. And sometimes less is more, isn't it? When you've got bits that you know you love wearing and you want to wear it all the time, it's like, I need to have a massive clear out, and I just want my cupboards a lot more minimalist. And
I work towards this idea of, you know, capsule wardrobe, having like basic staples, and I would say try and avoid like the main trends, you know, those trends that come in and they're maybe here for 6 months, and you think, I'm going to buy this piece and it's not going to be back in again for maybe 10 years. You know, don't necessarily fully avoid trends, because if you want to wear pieces that are, you know, current and present, that's okay. But try and build a wardrobe where pieces lend themselves well to other pieces. So build like the basics and the staples first, and then, you know, sort of work around that. And I think don't be guilty if you have to buy from a high street brand or a fast fashion brand, because, you know, it's ultimately consumption. So if you're one of those people that's buying hundreds of units and, you know, spending hundreds of pounds each month, you know, I'm not going to name any of their names, but in a fast fashion brand, then maybe just look to reduce that consumption down, because that's the most important thing.
And save money as well. We don't need it. We don't. We've probably got loads of stuff that we've got in our cupboard, but like me, it's all hidden and you can't find it all. So a good clear out is definitely what I need.
Definitely.
So last question, because we're got a wee bit of time here. So for you, like, if you were maybe to speak to a Char who was really struggling, really not sure what route to go down, feeling a bit lost, a bit frustrated, what maybe a bit of advice would you give to her, or for anyone listening to this podcast? It's knowing, like we've said earlier, like just inside us, or is that something that wants to do something different?
Yeah. For me, it would be try to care less about what other people think. I have always, even if it was just a little part of my mind that would be thinking, oh, what will people think? What will my friends from back in my hometown think? You know, I grew up in like a small town in the northeast and then moved to Manchester, which is this big city with, you know, more abundance and more opportunity. There would always be that part of my mind that would be thinking, but what will so-and-so be saying about me behind my back, or what will this person think? Ultimately, all that really matters is your happiness, and other people's opinions of you are absolutely nothing to do with you. It's not your business. If they want to think that, that's cool. But ultimately, you got to prioritize your needs and your happiness. So just try to. It's easier said than done. Don't get me wrong, but just try to care a little bit less about what the people think, and just go for it.
Amazing, perfect, awesome. Well, we'll finish there. Thank you so much for doing this. I've absolutely loved it. And before we go, if you've got any questions for Shar and you maybe listen to this in future, where can we find you?
Instagram is probably my most present platform. Me too. At Charlotte J Jonson on there. That's probably the best place to find me.
Okay, cool. So we can get you there. I'll put it in the description as well. Or you can just message me and I'll be in touch and send it to Shar, and we can again just bring it up in the podcast and chat about your kind of question that you've got. But hopefully you've related to some little parts of this today, and if you are stuck, know that we've done it. We've pushed ourselves out of the comfort zone, and you need to do it, because that is where we're going to grow and we're going to really find who we want to be. So thank you so much for sharing your story so far, and I'm excited to see where you go next. Thank you for listening, and I hope you all have an amazing week.